I have decided to be a lot less apologetic about it. It's the truth. We have spent a fortune, completely inept lawyers. It is not just the biological parents that have to consent. A lot of people have messed things up for us along the way. Even in the hard times, you and I can weather any storm. You're not walking by yourself? No. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. It will just be me today because I thought I would sit down with you all. I'm molting. I've got an audience. One man audience. George is asking to leave the house by himself and I am saying no.
Where he goes.
Huh? Even if you know where Derek is, I'm not comfortable with you leaving. Anyway, there's lots of questions that we get, like recurring questions we get. There are a few sort of misconceptions / misunderstandings as well, and we have had some questions over on our Instagram stories, so I thought I'd sit down and just do a big chatty Q&A with you all, really. Do you want to say hey? My baby. He's having a bit of a over emotional day today, aren't you, darling?
Help you.
I'm not cooking now, I'm doing a Q&A. Well, actually, what I was going to do is make myself a quick cup of tea to sit down with you all. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea.
Cup of tea?
Cup of tea!
What does this mean?
A cup of tea! Adam, what am I saying?
A cup of tea is like...
He knows now, he just doesn't know how I'm saying it.
I also want a cup of tea.
A cup of tea.
Can I also have...
I wasn't offering to make you guys. Right, let me make it.
Can we...
The lid.
They have cooked this.
Right guys, usually I would sit down, plan out all the questions in the order I want to answer them, have a little think what I'm going to say beforehand. But I've started to try... Oi! No! Not now. I think if you want to play fight, I want to be a bit more natural and myself in all the videos and get used to doing it. I don't know, like not needing to prepare. I just want to be me. So I have not prepared anything, and I'm just gonna try and answer some of these questions in some sort of logical order. Do I ever get left alone even for 1 minute by an animal or a child? Well, you're trying to steal my tea. Oh, so needed. So, as I could have predicted, the majority of the questions we get are all surrounding the adoption. So, let me see what we've got. Firstly, quite a few questions about, is there any update? And I did do a walk and talk where I spoke about this, but obviously maybe not everyone saw that video. But basically I said that things were actually going pretty well. I'm really happy with the new lawyer we got. And it felt like things were really going in the right direction for the first time in a very, very long time. But the fact of the matter is, we no longer have the funds left to push it. What people maybe don't realise is all the small things that we have to pay for when we're trying to get things to happen. To get things to happen, you have to go and sit at offices. You might get a hire car. Well, what we've had to do is, you've got to remember, some of these family members live deep in the village. So one day of a hire car going to pick them up, then a guest house in Ginger or somewhere in between because it's quite far. Next day, hire car going to Kampala. Then sometimes just waiting in Kampala and nothing happens. And then a guest house, and then the hire car the next day. We have spent a fortune because we have to pay when we take, you know, these extended family members. We're paying for guest house, food, hire car. It adds up quickly. Sometimes we don't even get that piece of paperwork that we might need to get. So very quickly our adoption fund dwindled, and it was starting to put a lot of pressure on Josh and I. We've been in a much better place over the last few months, and the pressure it was putting on us and the stress of it all meant we just said, let's take a break till after Christmas. So we decided, that was probably like mid-November or end of November, we decided to stop even trying to do anything with it and take a break. It just so happens that this January has been, I think, the worst month we've had in a very, very, very long time financially. And so we have not been able to resume it as of yet. But I am really positive about our lawyer, and I do think things will progress with him if we had the funds there. This is by no means, again, me asking for funds, okay? Whenever I speak about money or I speak about us struggling, I do often get a lot of backlash. But I find this really difficult because, well, for two reasons really. One reason is that it's the truth. You guys are asking me what's happening with the adoption. Shall I just not share that truth? Because that's what it is. You know what I mean? The reason why our videos have been really samey and we haven't done a lot of videos we want to do recently are because of our funds. Like, it's just the truth. I'm sharing with you the reality of our life right now, and it's just us being honest, and I want to be honest. The second thing is, we get people all the time asking how they can help, and although many times I do turn it down, sometimes we need it so badly that I do end up accepting it. I have decided to be a lot less apologetic about it. I do get comments, people don't like it, and I've started to really understand that you really can't please anyone anyway, and the amount of support we get versus those, you know, negative comments. It's the same with raising money for the charities. If I come on here and I appeal for money and you don't have any money to give, or you don't want to give money, then you weren't my target audience for that appeal, you know? But there are people on here that want to. I just think that's something to bear in mind. I don't know why people seem to take it so personally, like because they don't have something to give or they don't want to give. Anyway, back to the adoption. Do you need to have adopted the kids before you can take them out of the country? Yes. Basically, yes. When do I hope for the adoptions to be finalised? I refuse to put any form of timeline on it, because this is what I did with Adam, and all I ever was there's literally a cat climbing the tripod. Anyway, all I ever was disappointed, because things just don't go to plan and things go wrong all the time. So I'd like to say I hope for it all to go through this year. I really, really do. I want this year to be our year, let's be honest, that's my hope. But I'm not going to estimate a timeline. Okay, why aren't I able to adopt the 3 kids and Josh's? It's not about that. We could do that. It would just be a more complex adoption, and even the lawyer suggested we don't go down that route, because it's a domestic adoption. When Josh adopts them, it's a domestic adoption, and it can be done in the local magistrates courts, and it's a lot simpler and it takes a lot less time, where an international adoption has to be done through the one family court in Kampala. There's only 2 judges. Every single international adoption, as well as other matters, go through them, and the wait time to even go to court to see them is meant to be crazy, and he suggested if there's any way of avoiding that, to avoid that. So it makes a lot more sense for Josh to do it, and he'll be the one adopting them. And again, someone asking then, if we got married, would it be easier? We plan to get married later down the line, but right now, because Josh is doing that domestic adoption, it just would not be easier right now. It would complicate matters right now. Okay, we've got a question saying, if the children's parents are happy for you to adopt them, why is it taking so long to go through? Now, it's really hard because we don't like to share too much about what goes on with the biological family, but with adoption here, it is not just the biological parents that have to consent. There has to be extended family members on both sides. Josh's side, obviously, no problem, but the other side are family members that are very, very deep in the village, that have never met the children, and it has been a bit tricky when it comes to them. And this is where it gets really hard, and it's where we decide not to share things. But the only way I can put it is, they have grown up having these people. We don't know these people. They are very, very, very rural. Adoption is a completely foreign concept to them, and sometimes it's very hard to introduce a new concept and get someone to understand something that they don't. I don't know how to explain it better. But anyway, again, that isn't realistically the biggest problem. That has caused some hold-ups as well, but again, realistically, the reason why this has taken so long over these years is more to do with finances and to do with people screwing us over along the way. Completely inept lawyers. A lot of people have messed things up for us along the way, and it wasn't all too different when it came to Adam's adoption, which took many years too. It just so happens for Adam's adoption, I did actually have more money to throw at it, and that did still take several years. So then, back to the side of money, I do think we'd get it done faster, we'd get things done if we had more of it, which is why our main focus realistically has had to shift to trying to make money. This brings me to something that a lot of people said to me, and I really think there's been a sort of a misunderstanding about me and the charity, because we are separate entities. A few people said, what, you've got land for the dogs, why don't you sell it for that towards the adoption? Number one, it's hardly worth anything. It was less worth than like £1,000, so it wouldn't make a huge difference anyway. It's very, very deep in the village. But number two, it's not our land. That was land that was donated to the organisation. I am not the organisation. We are 2 separate entities. My money is not the organisation money. It is completely separate, right? UK registered charity, me. I am just the one running it, and it is a huge part of my life, and so I run it using my social media. This is how we find the people who want to support the children, the people who want to support the pets, and this is what I've been doing since 2017. I did used to run separate pages specifically for CEDA, and we kind of stopped doing that because I just couldn't manage everything, and instead I've just tried to combine it really, because I think it gives it a bit more of a personal edge, because before CEDA you saw these kids but you didn't really know who was behind it, and now you can see exactly what's going on. So I just kind of combined it all together, but it's separate. Yes, it does take up some of my time that could be spent elsewhere, but that is why we have limited things down so much. That is why we closed our CEDA projects. I had huge dreams of opening a school. We started expanding and doing community outreach, and it makes me really sad actually now to hop onto like the CEDA social media pages, because things were going so well until I realised that they couldn't go without me, and I couldn't forever put my full time into it because I had to focus on my family, which is why we did close the projects. And it has turned out to be the best decision, because now we spend a lot less time on it. So yes, I occasionally do some fundraising for the kids, and generally there's the taking them to school or picking them up, which we sometimes go along with, and then the visitation days. But it's a lot less of my days spent actually on the charity than it was before. Same with the dogs. I went recently for a day. That was the first time I'd been in months. Josh has been going there a few times, but everything we're doing is trying to work towards them being able to run more without us. To be able to do that, we have to first put a bit more effort into it. We want to finish up the dog sanctuary so it's all, you know, finished and ready with cameras and staff, so that it can run without us going all the time, so that we can monitor it from our phones with cameras, things like that. So everything we're doing is to try and then be able to focus more on the things we want to focus on. First, to do that, we need to make sure the charities can run, and we need to have enough money for our family. Everything we do is for a reason. But these kids, and the majority of these dogs, the kids I've known for over 10 years, the dogs, some of them have had for 8 years, 7 years. There's been a couple of newcomers, but they actually already have people supporting those dogs, because I am working with a couple of other people in terms of the dog sanctuary. A couple of them should have found homes, and we are looking to maybe rehome some of the young puppies as well. Anyway, just wanted to make that clear. Charity, me, separate. Funds for charity, funds for me, separate. Right, what else have we got? Okay, we've got a question about the CEDA kids, their names, their ages, who they are. The kids that we send to boarding school, so our main focus now, there's actually 9 of them. We used to have more, and it has gone down. Some kids returned to their families and go to day school. So we've got 9 main children that are the ones that we have to find the biggest funds to support. Obviously Derek, you guys have been seeing him in my videos recently because he's been staying at us and helping out a lot, and he is going to be 18 and he's going into 2nd year of secondary. I'd like people to remember that ages and classes here are a little bit different. There are circumstances which mean these kids are not in like the typical class for their age, and that is normal here. You find kids of all sorts of ages in classes. They might have missed a couple of years of school, they might start school late, they might have struggled with a class and they don't get promoted. It's not like in the UK where you go up no matter what. Here you don't. And even my children aren't in the same classes for their age as they would be in the UK. They go by ability rather than age. So that's Derek, and he's going into senior 2. We've then got John, who is actually 18, but it's crazy to me because I don't see any of these kids remotely as adults, and I don't think like in them they are, he's not like an 18-year-old would be in the UK, let's put it that way. Anyway, we are waiting for his results. He's actually Bazali's younger brother. We're waiting for his PLE results, and hopefully he will be starting secondary. Same with the twins, Babaji and Weiswer. They're 16, going to be 17 soon, and they also are waiting for their results and hopefully starting secondary. Tell you what, it's never actually quiet here. There's always noise coming from somewhere. Any Ugandans on here will probably criticise my pronunciation of Kisachu's name, because I have tried and I just cannot pronounce it properly. But she is 15 and she's going into the last year, P7, to her big important year of primary, and she'll be sitting her PLEs this year. So, yeah, this year. And then hopefully going to secondary next year. We've then got Bashir. I'm going to really mess up ages now. 14. But some of these children you would not know they're 14. Bashir is about the same height as Adam. And we've got Lukia. Must be 13. Again, you would not know that. Lukia has had a lot of difficulties in her life, and I wasn't really sure if she would actually manage to make her way through school, but she is finally making some progress, and I'm so happy about that. She's going into P3. Dan and Kenneth are going into P4. They are 12. I think that's everyone. Did I just count 9 children? And then we've got a couple still going to day schools in their villages. Anyway, those are the children, and they are all wonderful, wonderful children, and I would love to introduce you to them all more if you guys would like to be seeing that. Again, I've known most of these kids longer than I've known Adam, so they are a big part of my life, and they're all very deserving and wouldn't be in school if we did not receive kind donations. So we are still fundraising for that if you are interested, and I think we're about a quarter of our goal, and we desperately need to raise more of it. So all the details are in the description box if you do and would like to donate. Right, what else have we got? Oh, someone's asked how I got involved with the CEDA kids. Almost all of the CEDA kids came from the same children's home as Adam came from. I was very close to them from there. That's how I've known them for so long. That children's home did close down, and I felt very strongly about giving them the opportunity to have a better future. So that is how CEDA was formed. And their future aspirations, I have not asked the younger lot recently, but I did just ask the older ones recently. John said poultry farmer, Babajay said nurse, and Weiswa said engineer. Derek just says to me he hasn't got an actual specific thing he knows he wants to do yet. He wants to see what he's going to be the most successful in, basically. He's planning. Since he's been here and he's been like cooking with me and stuff, he's like, I want a kitchen like this. He's like, I want a job that's going to lead me to have a kitchen like this. I want an air fryer. I want to be able to make the things that I've been making with you. And so he's dreaming quite big, and I honestly think that he will be successful. So we will have to wait and see, and hopefully you guys, and I'll still be posting on here and following them into adulthood and seeing what they do, because I think that would just be amazing. Okay, question about who will look after the dogs when we hopefully move to the UK. We don't have members of staff right at this moment. However, this land and this project is in Josh's village where his family are, so we've always got his parents on hand to check in, and I feel pretty confident that it will be okay if we manage to get the cameras and everything set up. Point just is it's not fully set up at the moment. It can't run by itself until we get that done, but I do feel confident that with some money injected and the place sorted out, that it is the sort of project that can run without us here. We have an amazing vet that we're using in Kampala, that if there's any problems with the dogs, we'll be able to deal with that. So we just need the people there, like for the day-to-day care. Right, I'm gonna finish off with a few different random questions. So we've got, do the kids have middle names? Yes, and surnames. Kind of. Surnames here are not the same. Families often don't have the same family name. They're given a name that has different meaning. Like Josh's wife was Joseph, and no one in his family has those as a surname. Everyone's different. So that's the same for these kids at the moment, and the idea is they're all going to have Larter on the end of their name, and at the moment they all just say Larter. Might not be their legal name, but if you ask them their name, they will say Larter on the end of their name. So we've got Adam Joshua Mukama Larter. We've got George William Naganyi Larter. We've got Tallie Marie Nabijay Larter, and we've got James Ray Ndegeya Larter. Okay, got a question about why Josh and the kids can't get a visitor visa and come to visit the UK. The kids wouldn't be able to without being adopted anyway, because like child trafficking and everything like that, they just wouldn't be allowed to leave. Josh in theory could, but money, everything into it, the kids being left here, we've considered it several times. It is quite hard to get one because you have to prove there's more reason to come back and stay there, and the UK Home Office is not easily convinced of that. You can even have houses and jobs here and they don't think it's enough. So it's not all that easy. Some people get them, some people do not. But obviously if we apply and he's rejected, I feel like that doesn't look good on his application to move there. So we'll see. We've considered it, but at the moment it would just be a load of money, a risk of it not being accepted, and the other kids would be left behind anyway. So it's not really something we're looking to do at the moment. Josh's health. So Josh is much better. Obviously he had the endoscopy and he was on a load of medicine, like a lot, and he has to be a little bit careful with what he eats. He is supposed to have gone for another checkup that is all funded and paid for, and he needs to go back and go for that checkup at some point. Obviously it's in Kampala, so as we've mentioned, car hire and everything, we've not gone, but he's doing much better, and so thank you to everyone who did help out with that, because that was pretty scary at the time. Would we relocate to another country, maybe Kenya? I did touch on this also, I think, in a walk and talk, and basically no, because the main reason we want to go to the UK is that's where our support network is. You know, we've got 2 homes and we love them both for different reasons. I don't think at this point, definitely not permanently, we wouldn't go to another country. Maybe we'd go for like, you know, a nice, very long holiday, but I don't think we would settle somewhere else. How is Josh feeling on living in the UK and being away from his family? Obviously, he'll miss his parents, just in the same way I'm away from my family now. Wherever we are, some of us are missing our family. But Josh does actually have an uncle and cousins in the UK. He doesn't really know them, but he does have them. And obviously he'll want to come back and visit them and things like that. But it's the same as it would be for anyone, really. Like, you miss your family and it's a sacrifice you make, but I've been away from mine for the best part of 10 years now, and so he's willing to take a turn being away from his as well. Am I worried that the children will find it hard to adapt to living in the UK? Yes and no. No, generally, as a whole, I think they will love it. Kids are so adaptable. I am worried about school, but I'm worried about school regardless. Like, as I have mentioned, they do find school tricky. We are finally making some progress. I could cry. Adam in the last few months has made more progress than he has in the last 5 years. So although there's so much more to make, I'm just so happy that we are actually getting somewhere. But I just don't know if I can picture my kids in a British secondary school. They are all still very young at heart. Even Adam, after spending 3 years in the UK, I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for him to go to secondary. It's like they're not this like streetwise sort of thing as like other British kids, and they're still very young at heart, and I know secondary school will really change that. Gosh guys, I've got so many questions. I feel like this is a really long video, but how is Adam finding being away from the UK? He is doing really well generally as a whole. There are so many issues he had there that have gone entirely here. I can't say exactly what that comes down to. My assumption is having his siblings around, but as a whole he's a lot happier. He does of course miss my parents, my brother, Molly. I think it's the people he misses more than the place. But then when he's there, he misses the people here. So again, it's one of those situations where wherever we are, like, part of him is missing. And that is obviously hard for a child to navigate. But as a whole, like, even things like school and just general day-to-day happiness and confidence, I definitely think he's doing very well at the moment. Okay, language questions. Are the kids fully bilingual, and can I speak Josh's language? I cannot. I wish I could, guys. You'd think, because I feel like when you're in a country for a very long time, I mean, I've been here for a long time now, you just naturally pick it up. But I really find it really hard. I'm just not a sort of language person anyway. Like, my mum is French and I still can't speak French, so it's just never been a skill set of mine, a talent of mine. Adam knows very minimal, just the odd words here and there. Even Tallie and James, bearing in mind they've never been to the UK and they spent years here with Josh, are not fully fluent in the local language, which is, I did not expect when I came back from the UK, but they're just not. They can understand it, they can't speak it much. The only one who is George. George is fully bilingual in English and Lusoga, and if there's someone I need to speak to, he can do the translating. He's just fabulous when it comes to that. But yeah, I thought that's really interesting actually, that only George is, and I don't know why it is, because Josh speaks to all of them in Lusoga all the time. Other people speak to them in Lusoga all the time. Obviously at school they are spoken to in English. I speak to them in English. So they're hearing both languages all the time. So I don't know. Okay, last question, and a question we do get often, even though I have answered it a lot, is would I like biological children? I would, guys. I am very, very happy with the kids I've got, but obviously it would be a very different experience and something I would like to experience. I do realise, as lots of people like to point out to me on here, that my biological clock is starting to tick, but we're not really in the best position right now. I know there's never a right time to have a baby, but we've got a lot going on. I really hope in the next couple of years things will settle and maybe we'd add an addition to the family. If I am able to, who knows? I don't know if I am or I'm not, because we've never tried. There is all the chance in the world that I will have difficulties because I have had a lot of health problems. I know lots of you on here would like to see a mini Emilie and Josh, but you know, we'll see. Anyway, gonna end it there. I hope that's answered lots of questions. I hope that's cleared some things up. I realise it's a really long video, so if you've made it this far, thank you so much, and we will see you in our next video, guys.